We at Vista, even today, measure the productivity of the software that our portfolio companies sell to their customers. And today, it's still over a 600% ROI. So when you think about almost any other investment that you can make, if you're a company, you're probably your next best dollar is used to buy more software, to train your people to use that software more efficiently, buy more applications or different components that enable that software to not only bring more intelligence and insights into your organization, but enable your people to action those insights more effectively. And we'll talk about, I know, Gen AI a little bit later in this conversation. But what I remembered was that hopeful optimism. And what occurred and was actually quite fascinating, you all have all sorts of market pundits saying, "Oh, this software industry is going to grow at 8% and 10%." I remember in early 2000, software, generally speaking, was, eighth, ninth, 10th largest industry on the planet, is now the largest. And then became the fastest growing and is still the fastest growing. And even when you think about Gen AI, at the end of the day, that is, it's software. And it's because it has such major productivity on the one hand and utility. By utility, I mean it applies to every single industry. And you can utilize components of it to create productivity, to enhance insights, to enhance understanding of markets and opportunities, and in many cases, create less uncertainty in supply chains and in understanding exactly what's occurring in some ecosystem that you might be trying to understand as a business executive. So, that time of expansion created major optimism, and then you saw massive amounts of capital flowing into the software industry generally, and specifically, we saw it, and I'll call it in two big categories. One was consumer, and of course, the big consumer companies. Some have come and gone, and some have had some staying power because, as you know, consumers are fickle. They some case doesn't matter what service they ride home in, so long as they're getting the lowest price. Businesses are looking for reliable suppliers who not only provide the product but services. And so one of the things that came out of that period of time, and it's kind of funny to think about it now, was, well, how do you actually sell this product? Well, you typically sold this product with a maintenance contract. Okay, here's the amount of the product, here's for the product, and you're going to pay me 20% a year for maintenance. What's that mean? Well, as we change the product, or it's operating on different infrastructures, databases, or there's different changes in operating systems, we will update your software for you so that you as a business don't have to do it and don't have to bear the burden of all that infrastructure to keep people up to speed on how these software products evolve. And so that model became quite an interesting model. So the next thing that came out of that marketplace was this new business model, which had some form of recurring revenues. And those recurring revenues initially were maintenance revenues. You sold some product for a license, and then you would pay some maintenance. Well, over time, we started evolving that model to say, well, rather than saying a one-time, license charge and maintenance charges that you had to renew every year or 3 years or whatever it might be, let's go to a subscription model. And that emerged this thing called SaaS, software as a service. And that subscription model would include, of course, a license and some maintenance. And we could deliver that in a business form model, which as an investor gave you visibility.